Hello, everybody. This is Dorian with a little series that I'm just going to go through all 12 base classes of Dungeons and Dragons 5.5, which is the 2024 rules. Just to clarify, I'm essentially just going to one episode per class, go through it, go through their features, their subclasses, and rate how I like them. And of course, that would start us off with Barbarian, my personal favorite. So they are primary strength, D12 hit die, strength, of course, encapsulates that idea of just a hulking, raging monster. Someone who's so strong, so sturdy that that's all that they need. D12 hit die is going to give them a lot of health because they're usually going to be taking the most hits, and that's mostly what this class is built for: is taking hits and being able to deal some out, but mostly that tank. They are the most tank class in the game. They have saving throws and strength and Constitution, which is going to save them from a lot of saves. No magical ones, really, which makes sense because the Barbarian, like most martials, are built for physical, while lacking in more mental capabilities. And I mean physical and mental stats in that regard. I really like their skill proficiencies of animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, or survival. You can really build that in a lot of ways. Like, oh, they have animal handling because they're really good at holding animals down or something like that. I don't know. Wrestling alligators. Athletics, just big, strong. They can do athletic things. Intimidation, again, big, strong. That's scary. Nature, they might have had to live in the woods on their own. Perception, you gotta be perceptive. Survival. I think they're just good overarching skills. The only really obscure is what I like to call them. Just skills that you don't use as much are like animal handling and maybe nature. It just depends on the campaign, but it also has those always used ones like intimidation and perception. They get simple and martial weapons, which great because barbarian they can only use simple weapons. That would kind of suck. But if you're more into the like two daggers or two hand axes, they can absolutely do that. But if you're more like me and go for the big, strong weapons that have a lot of hit dice, wrong word, have like a lot of dice to roll, like a great sword with a great axe. They have martial. In armor training, they only get light and medium and can use shields, which makes sense. A lot of their features, if they are wearing heavy armor, just don't work. So of course that makes sense. And besides, you wouldn't really want to wear armor most of the time anyway. But it is nice that they have the option of that because if you're doing some form of multi-class, you might want to wear armor. But anyway, and for starting equipment, you can either take the Great Axe, 4 hand axes, Explorer's Pack, and 15 gold pieces, or go with 75 gold pieces. I'm a very big fan of the A and B because in 5th edition it used to be you can take this or this, and then you can take this or that, and here's this option A, which is essentially what most people would want, and there's option B, which is what I usually go with because then I can just choose and pick exactly what I want. Sorry if you got that. It's currently storming right now. As you can see, it's a little late, 12:50. But I really enjoy the just being able to take a lump of gold and then going through the player's handbook and buying whatever it is that you want that would make sense for your character. So, we'll just scroll down instead of reading through this because we'll learn everything that we need by just reading through all the features instead of just going, it gets rage on armor defense, weapon mastery level 1. They go, oh, level 1, you get rage. Anyway, level 1, you get one of my favorite abilities in the game, which makes this class my favorite class in the game, is Rage. Now, Rage, as long as you're not wearing heavy armor, you can enter it as a bonus action. You only get a specific amount of uses of that per short rest. Uh, no, you only get half. You're gonna get, oh my gosh. Do I not even know my favorite class? Can I not even speak? Hello. You gain 1 on a short rest and regain all on a long rest. At level 1, you only get 2, but that does become a 6 eventually. So it used to be unlimited from my memory at level 20, but at 6, you're not really going to need more than 6 anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And while Rage, you get specific benefits. You get resistance to all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. That does include magical, because it doesn't specify otherwise. You also do a little bit of extra damage, which is shown in this rage damage column, which starts at +2 and eventually becomes +4. You have advantage on all strength checks and saving throws, which is going to go very nicely with that proficiency in strength saving throws. And you also cannot concentrate or cast spells. Now, I think that's very good balancing because every wizard, honestly, every wizard would you dip one into Barbarian just for rage because a wizard who can take more hits is pretty good. But having that no concentration on spells or not even being able to cast them makes it very good, very balanced. Now, it can last up to 10 minutes, but you have to do specific things, which is make an attack roll against an enemy, force an enemy to make a saving throw, take a bonus action to extend your rage. Those are 3 different ways, and again, it lasts for 10 minutes. Next, you have unarmored defense, which I think is great because a lot of things require you not to have heavy armor. And uh, medium armor, while being able to give you a decent armor class, is not really preferred, especially for a class that wants to tank hits. Like, they are the front line, they are there to absorb attacks from your squishier party members. So having unarmored defense, which is 10 plus your dex plus your con modifiers, allows you to get a much higher AC than with medium armor. Typically, I don't always have the highest AC with my barbarians while going unarmored defense anyway, because I focus more on strength and constitution. But don't make that think that a dex con fighter would not work, because that absolutely would. A lot of their features can also work with dexterity, and a lot of their weapons can work with dexterity. You just have to build it in a slightly more specific way, but it could still work. Next, we have one of my favorite features that 5.5 is introduced, which is weapon masteries, which give an additional property to all weapons. But all the martials can only have so many and different weapons, and the barbarian starts with 2, eventually coming up to 4. With barbarians, I've never needed more than 1 or 2 anyway, but it is nice to have those anyway. Level 2, they get danger sense, which, if they are able to see, no, sorry, I am going based off the older rules. You just have advantage on dex saving throws, unless you have the incapacitated condition. This is a technical upgrade from the 5th edition version where you had to see it, but anytime you're making a dex save, you could see it, so it was just unnecessary wording, so you just have advantage on dex saving throws, which is amazing to have, because out of all the physical saving throws, I'd say that dex is probably coming up the most, which has led to a lot of times where my barbarian will grab an opponent and then yell at our party wizard, hey, cast fireball. Especially with that huge health pool, I'm just able to tank a lot of those. And I don't know if you know the satisfaction of being able to just auto fail someone because your barbarian is holding them. I'd imagine it's pretty good because I'm always the barbarian. Level 3, you get your subclass, like rest of the classes, and also you get primal knowledge. You get proficiency in another one of the barbarian skills, and while your rage is active, you can use your strength for those barbarian skills, which is crazy good actually, because there's only one strength skill, and being a strength primary class that works best with strength tends to make it a little sucky to have to make skill checks because your other stats aren't going to be good because acrobatics is dex, yes, but that's charisma, that's wisdom, there's another dex, and I believe that's intelligence. Yes, that is intelligence, I believe. It's like the skills that they're going to be proficient in, they're not going to have the modifiers for. So if they're raging, you can use your strength, which I think is a good little utility thing to give with the barbarian. Level 4, like all classes, you get an ability score improvement feat, or just a feat of your choice. You gain this at 8, 12, and 16, like all other classes, except I believe rogue and fighter still. Level 5, like most martials, you get extra attack. This is something that all martials get, and it's an amazing thing to have because you can attack twice per one attack action instead of once. But also at level 5, you get fast movement, which, while you aren't wearing heavy armor, you just gain 10 feet of speed, which comes up so much. When you have 40 as opposed to like 30, you can move so much more than you realize. This fast movement feature has legitimately saved me turns where I would have to move twice or use the dash action. So it's very nice. Level 7 is another one of my favorite abilities is Feral Instinct, where you gain advantage on all initiative rolls, which you don't know how many times this has come in clutch for me where I'll roll like a 2 and go, dang, I'm going last. I get that advantage, and oh, now I'm not going last. So it's very good. You also get a new feature, Instinctive Pounce, where as part of the bonus action when you enter rage, you can move up to half your speed, which again with fast movement means that you are moving maybe 60 feet of turn, no dash action for free, just on that turn you enter rage, and it is so nice, and I can cover so much ground with that ability. It's come up a lot of times where the enemy will be out of my normal speed, but because of Instinctive Pounce, I'm able to get to them a lot easier and start attacking. At level 9, replacing Critical is Brutal Strike. Can I speak? Brutal Strike is a very, very fun ability. Oh, just hit the mic there. I just realized I never went over Reckless Attack. Reckless Attack, basically, you gain advantage, but the enemy has advantage on you. It's a fun ability, don't get me wrong. I can't believe I passed over it. But you can forego advantage on one of those strength-based attack rolls. This is where the dex-based Barbarian kind of wavers. Because if you hit with that attack, you deal an extra 1d10 damage, and you get to use one of these effects, like Forceful Blow, which pushes them away, and then you can move up to them without provoking opportunity attacks, which means more movement. It is crazy how much movement they have given the Barbarian. Or Hamstring Blow, where you reduce the enemy's speed, but they can only be affected by one hamstring blow. But this can be used with a weapon with slow, which reduces it by another 10, I believe. So you can get rid of 25 to 30 if it's another 15 feet for slow. And that's most creatures' speed anyway. So you can stop them in their tracks, which honestly is really good. Then at level 11, you get Relentless Rage. If you drop to 0 hit points while your rage is active, but you don't die outright, you can make a DC 10 con save. If you succeed, your hit points instead change to a number equal to twice your Barbarian level, and you can use this as many times, but the DC will increase by 5 each time, and when you finish a short or long rest, it resets back to 10. So it's a very nice ability. If you're playing a more difficult campaign, you'll probably be going down a lot or going low. So just having this nice, easy pick-me-up is going to be very nice to have. How many times can I say nice in the same sentence about Relentless Rage? At level 13, your Brutal Strikes improve to have 2 more effects that you can choose from. Staggering Blow, give the target disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes, and it can't make opportunity attacks until the start of your next turn. If you use this and there's a spellcaster on your turn, they are going to love you because just disadvantage on the next save that they make. And then your wizard casts command, they fail because of that disadvantage. Oh my gosh, you just won that encounter because of Staggering Blow. It is huge. But the next one that's also big, both of these are really nice, is Sundering Blow, where before the start of your next turn, the next attack roll made by another creature against the person you hit gains a +5 bonus to the roll. Sure, it can only be affected by one Sundering Blow at a time, but +5 is a lot. And it can make the difference between hitting or not, especially on higher AC monsters. At level 15, you gain Persistent Rage. When you roll Initiative, you can regain all expended uses of Rage. And you lose once per long rest, but you essentially now have double the amount of Rages, which is crazy. So you, at level 15, you would have 5 rages. You essentially have 10, and then eventually, essentially 12 rages, which is a lot of rages, more than you will probably ever need. In addition, your rage will now always last for 10 minutes, unless you end it early, or have the unconscious condition, but not the incapacitated, which is huge, or you put on heavy armor. That is the only thing that you do to get rid of it. And it lasting 10 minutes always is very nice. Needing to extend your rage isn't going to come up a lot, but I could foresee it happening here and there, and it being really annoying. It did actually almost happen in a one-shot I ran. One of my players led Barbarian, and he couldn't get to the person in time and he almost ran out of rage. Before I reminded him, of course, you can just use your bonus action to keep it up. But the biggest part about it is, of course, that being able to regain all uses of rage, effectively doubling your rage. Next up is another improved Brutal Strike, where now you deal an extra 2d10, as well as being able to use 2 Brutal Strike effects whenever you use the Brutal Strike feature, which is crazy, because you want to know what you're going to do? You're going to use Staggering Blow and Sundering Blow most of the time, or at least that is my opinion. Because they're not only going to have disadvantage on the next saving throw, but your next martial will have a bonus to hit. Oh, or even, let's say a spell makes you hit, and when it hits, they have to roll a save. You can combo those, making you an effective support out of nowhere, just because you're hitting the enemy. With Brutal Strike, they've given the Barbarians so much utility outside of just hitting the guy more. And I think that is an amazing thing that they've done for this class. Because even though it's my favorite, I will admit it does one thing. It's a one-trick pony half the time, especially in 5th edition, where it just stood there, it took hits, and it dealt them. It does that job very well, but that's it. As opposed to Fighter, which can control the battlefield sometimes, or it does the dealing damage better, or Paladins that deal a lot more damage, but are also able to heal, do a little bit of support. But giving improved Brutal Strikes, just that giving an ally something, adds so much to the Barbarian's kit, and I'm so happy that it has that. At level 18, you get Indomitable Might. If your total for a strength check or strength saving throw is less than your strength score, you can use the score in place of the total. Now, this solidifies this class as the strength class, even though it's like way later on in the class. And most people probably won't get to that because most people don't run high level campaigns. But the maximum a Barbarian strength can be is now at 25 with Primal Champion and an Epic Boon, which means you are bare minimum always getting a 25, which is crazy because that beats the second highest normal DC of like that DC chart in the DM's screen, where it's like impossible, nearly impossible, which is insane because you can always do nearly impossible feats of a DC 25 because you meet it, you beat it. At level 19, replacing what was a regular ability score improvement is an Epic Boon, which are another thing a feat. Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice this. First time I'm reading the book, I guess. You can either take an Epic Boon feat or another feat of your choice, which means it could stick to being just an ability score improvement, or you can take an Epic Boon feat, which are a small section of feats that are way crazy powerful. And it even recommends one for each class, this being Boon of Irresistible Offense. Can I speak? No, I cannot. I'll probably make a video going over all feats, which would include that, and fighting styles, which are now feats. And you have to have the fighting style feature to take. I understand why they did it, but it's just a little bit more confusion sometimes. I could imagine for a newer player. But anyway, at level 20, you get the Primal Champion feature, where your strength and con scores increase by 4 to a maximum of 25. This is my favorite capstone because of how it's so simple, it's so effective because it is going to raise the amount of hit points that you get at level 20. It is going to increase the Indomitable Might. You are going to be doing more damage. It's an overarching ability that's super simple that just makes Barbarian overall better when you reach that level 20. Is it the strongest of level 20 features? Probably not, but it is still a very good one. Anyway, let us get into the subclasses. If I remember correctly, it is 4 subclasses for Barbarian, and we start with the Path of the Berserker. Remember in 5e, this used to just be like, oh, you're Barbarian, but more Barbarian? Because like in 5th edition, the Player's Handbook, every class sort of had that subclass, like, okay, you're just even more of this class. That's not to be a bad thing. It's usually what me and my players joke about all the time, where it's like, oh, Berserker is just the Barbarian subclass for Barbarian. But they did change it a little bit. With Frenzy, whenever you use Reckless Attack while your Rage is active, you deal extra damage to the first target you hit on your turn with a strength-based attack, and the extra damage is a number of d6s equal to your Rage damage bonus, and add them together. And it is at the same time as the weapon or arm strike for that attack. which means you are going to be doing insane numbers of damage. Uh, I'd want to say maybe close to Paladin, but a little weaker because they use D8s instead of D6s. But yours is going to probably be a little more consistent because the Paladin could technically run the spell slots. But at level 3, that's going to be 2d6s once per turn, essentially. That'll become 3d6, 4d6, and you're reaching, I think that's half of sneak attack, which can also only be used once per turn. So it just adds crazy damage as a third level feature. And then at level 6, you gain immunity to charmed and frightened conditions while you are raging. And if you have those conditions and rage, the conditions end on you. Which is insane, because a lot of creatures give the charmed or frightened condition, which is crazy. And if you have them, as a player, they kind of suck, because either you're charmed and you can't fight the enemy, or you're frightened, can't move towards them, and have disadvantage. So it's very nice to get rid of those awful conditions. And don't take this as me saying that these are bad conditions, they shouldn't be in the game. I love them. I'm just saying, as a player, they suck to have because, they're supposed to suck. On level 10, whenever you take damage from a creature that is within 5 feet of you, which is going to be most of the time, you can take a reaction to make one melee attack against that creature using the weapon or unarmed strike, which is essentially just a different version of opportunity attack. Is it the best feature? Will it show up a lot? Yes. And honestly, I think that this... Actually, no. I take back that thought. I think this is a very good feature. It's very basic, but it will find a lot of use probably. And if you pair this with, like, Sentinel... Well, no, wouldn't be an opportunity. I was about to say if you pair this with Polearm Master, but they have to be within 5 feet of you, which they have to get into your reach. Actually, no, that would still work. You could become a reaction-based fighter, which is crazy. It's also not that great, but it's something you can do. Wacky builds are almost often more fun than broken builds, in my opinion. But anyway, level 14, you gain Intimidating Presence. Don't mind the Steam notification, I forgot to turn it off. As a bonus action, you can strike terror into others with your menacing presence and primal power. When you do so, each creature of your choice within 30-foot emanation originating from yourself must make a whiz save, or they gain the frightened condition for 1 minute. At the end of the frightened creature's turn, they can repeat it, and in the effect, you can use this once per long rest or expend a use of rage to restore your use of it, and restoring the use of it takes no action, which is nice. Then we have Path of the Wild Art, which was originally Totem Warrior. This used to be what I normally went for because of the resistances, and we'll get into that. So at level 3, you can cast Ice Rituals, Beast Sense, and Speak with Animals, and there's no spell slot requirement for that, and your spellcasting ability for them is Wisdom. They don't really have a spell attack or a DC, but you have to have a spellcasting ability. And Wisdom makes most sense because that ties into the other nature-based classes of Ranger and Druid, so it just makes sense. Then at level 3, you also get Rage of the Wilds, where you will choose one of 3 options, Bear, Eagle, or Wolf. Bear will make you resistant to every other type of damage while you are resistant, except you will gain resistance to almost every single type of damage while raging, not while resistant. You will gain everything but Force, Necrotic, Psychic, and Radiant. It's technically worse because it used to do everything but Psychic, but I think making it resistant to less types is way better because now there's an actual reason to maybe want to take Eagle or Wolf at level 3. Especially because you could just go Azamar and then get rid of that Necrotic and Radiant. And they only need 2 Ring of Resistances, which is 2 attunement slots, but that is all resistances for all damage types. Or you go with Eagle, where when you activate your Rage, you can take the disengage and dash actions a part of that bonus action, which doesn't mean disengage or you dash. You disengage and dash, which means they can't make opportunity attacks against you, and you have doubled speed. Which means moving half your speed is now actually 40 instead of the 20 it would normally be. And you also have the 80 of your dash that you now have. And while your rage is active, you can take a bonus action to take both of those actions. I don't know if that means you can take disengage and dash, or you can take disengage or dash. I guess that would depend on DM. Personally, I'd rule it disengage and dash activate at the same time. Wolf, while your rage is active, Your allies have advantage on attack rolls against any enemy of yours within 5 feet of you. These are really good features. Honestly, Wild Heart is still one of my favorite ones, especially because it can be so different depending on who plays it. You need to be a better tank, or you can go into that mobility that the Barbarian now has, or you can go into more of a support role, which Barbarian is now able to do with Brutal Strikes, and just have advantage on all attack rolls against an enemy within 5 feet of you. Which you can take Wolf and make a grappler build and just grab enemies. They're within 5 feet of you. Well, I guess technically they would because they're grappled, but you know what I mean. You can just be a person that sticks close to people, and then when they're there, they die. And you could pair that with the improved brutal strike, where they have disadvantage on saves, and maybe pair that with a spellcaster with a hold person, hold monster, or something like that. Make sure that person stays there. Take a quick drink. At level 6, you gain 3 more options that you can take. Of course, you can change these level 6 choices at a long rest. Level 3, you can't, and at level 14, you can't. But the level 6 ones you can specifically change, which I think are good because they're not as strong as level 3 or level 14, but they are still very good. You can take Owl and gain dark vision of 60 feet, or increase your range by 60 feet if you already have it. Take Panther and gain a climb speed equal to your speed, or take Salmon, which I think it's really funny that they chose Salmon, and I like Shark or something. And you have a swim speed equal to your speed. Again, I think it's really funny that Salmon's here because it's like you have Bear, Predator, Eel, a Predator, Wolf, a Predator, Owl, a Predator, Panther, a Predator, Falcon, Lion, and Falcon and Lion, which are Predators, Ram, which is ram into things, and Salmon, just a fish, which is beautiful. In level 10, you can cast Commune with Nature spell, but only as a ritual, and of course, with Wisdom as your spellcasting ability. Maybe not the most useful, like Animal Speaker, but it's just nice to have a little bit utility. Just have a feature that might not come up every once in a while, but when it comes up, it's very useful. Like Speak with Animals. Level 14, you have 3 options that you can choose from again. You can take the Falcon and gain a fly speed while your rage is active, equal to your speed while you aren't wearing any armor. Crazy to give a Barbarian a fly speed, because again, they are now a very mobile class out of nowhere, especially if you go Goliath and start with 35, which then becomes 45, which if you also took Eagle would be 90, just for a bonus action, which is, again, crazy work. 90, possible 90-foot fly speed on a Barbarian sounds so crazy, man. That sounds so fun. And personally, I think I would probably try that out in like a one shot or something. Lion, while your rage is active, any of your enemies within 5 feet of you have disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you or another Barbarian who has this option active. Which, again, goes in that sort of you stand in front of the guy, make sure they are right next to you, and you essentially make it so they only want to attack you, which is what you want as a Barbarian. You want to take away all the hits that could damage your squishies, like your wizards or your sorcerers, and take them on yourself because you can resist it. So you could pair this with Wolf or Bear and have them both do very well. And then Ram, while your rage is active, you can cause a large or smaller creature to have the prone condition when you hit it with a melee attack. There's no saving that. They just go prone, and when they're prone, they have to take half their speed to stand up, and all creatures attacking them have advantage, which again goes into that weirdly support-based Barbarian build that you could do, where you can give your allies advantage, you can give the enemy a disadvantage on attacking everything but you. You can make them have advantage on you, making them want to hit you more likely. So again, I'm so glad with a lot of these features that Barbarian no longer becomes the dude that just hits stuff. They now become a full-on protector because they have so many abilities, like Ram or Lion, where they make it so that the enemy would want to hit them to get rid of these features, therefore protecting their lower HP allies. Next, we have World Tree, which is a brand new subclass and looks very fun, in my opinion. At level 3, you gain Vitality of the Tree. You gain the following options. Whenever you activate your Rage, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your Barbarian level, which is quite a lot, adding on to the already huge health pool that Barbarians have as the only D12 hit die class. Giving them temporary hit points, which either ranges from 3 to 20, depending on level, is crazy. They're probably going to be able to take another hit out of their already dozens of hits they can probably take even at level 3. And they also, at the start of each of their turns while Rage is active, they can choose another creature within 10 feet to gain temporary hit points. They gain a number equal to a roll of d6s equal to the Rage damage bonus, which either starts at 2d6 or 4d6. And these temporary hit points remain when your Rage ends, even. Oh, wait, no, read that completely wrong. If your Rage ends, they vanish, but you're probably going to stay in Rage in combat, so those temporary hit points, like, at maximum 24, it's going to mean a lot, because if you give that to, like, your Wizard, they can probably tank one more hit, which they already can't tank that many, so being able to just take on another hit, it's very nice. And this is at the start of each of your turns. You can keep giving that to your Wizard or something for no action. You just do, and that's really good. Again, going into that, Barbarians now have support, which is so nice, and I think is really great that you can make those builds. Whenever a creature you can see starts its turn within 30 feet of you while your Rage is active, you can take a reaction to summon spectral branches of the world tree around it. The target must succeed on a strength save, or be teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 5 feet of yourself, or in the nearest unoccupied space you can see. After they teleport, you can reduce its speed to 0 until the end of its current turn, which is crazy. Whenever they start its turn, you just strength save, which, depending on the creature, can either be very high or very low. Especially if you're fighting like a mage type of character, they are not going to have that great of a strength. It's going to immediately move them right next to you. They have 0 speed. And then, when it gets to your turn, you can start fighting them. So again, very good. Lots of utility and support of the subclass so far. So very good. During your turn, your reach is 10 feet greater with any melee weapon that has the heavy or versatile property, as tendrils of the world tree extend from you. With such a weapon on your turn, you can activate the push or topple mastery property in addition to any different mastery property you're using with that weapon. Push essentially just pushes them, I believe, 5 to 10 feet back, and then topple gives them the prone condition. I believe those are both saves. But if you pair that with like a great axe with, I believe it's a great sword with cleave, you can hit 2 enemies and push or topple one of them, or you can have push and also topple, so you push them 10 feet back and now they're prone. It's just very, very nice utility that you can give to the Barbarian, and again, that's kind of what this subclass is. But the only thing about that is that it has to be on your turn, so you can't do this with an opportunity attack, which I think is completely fair. At level 14, when you activate your Rage, as a bonus action while your Rage is active, you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. In addition, once per Rage, you can increase the range of that teleport to 150 feet. When you do so, you can also bring up to 6 willing creatures who are within 10 feet of you. Each creature teleports to an unoccupied space of your choice within 10 feet of your destination space. That is crazy, because the Barbarian now has teleport. And along with all the mobility options that they have, they are starting to become one of the most mobile classes in the game. And I don't even think I realized that until reading with you guys. It's just a crazy ability to have where, okay, once per Rage, me and all of my allies, and you're not normally going to have a party over 7 people, including you. That would even work for my group, which were a little bit bigger. Just 150 feet. That is so much area to move, especially, and I can see the scenario happening now. You're in a long hallway where there's like, we'll say a lich at the end of it, and it's like maybe 200 feet. So they're able to just spam spells at you. Well, you have to move up and use all your action economy when, okay, the Barbarian's going. We'll just use the dodge action on all of our turns. And then when the Barbarian rages, he can make it 150 feet and take us all with him. which is insane. It's so good. Next, we have the Path of the Zealot, which starts with Divine Fury. You can channel Divine Power into your strikes. On each of your turns while your rage is active, the first creature you hit with a weapon or unarmed strike takes extra damage equal to 1d6 plus half your Barbarian level. The extra damage to Chronicle Radiant, you choose the type. Each time you deal the damage, more damage every time. It's unlike the Frenzy attack, where it's first attack, where this is on every attack, which is really nice. Just more damage to any class is always a good ability no matter what. You also gain Warrior of the Gods. Uh, as a bonus action, you expend dice from the pool, which is an amount of which is 4d12s always, which 4d12 is actually quite a lot, and regain a number of hit points depending on what you roll. You regain all expended dice in a long rest, and the maximum number of dice increases by 1 when you reach level 6, 12, and 17. That is 7d12s. Do you know how much you can heal yourself with 7d12s? You can heal a lot of health with 7d12s. Divine Fear, Zealot is looking like a very high damage, high survivability. That's probably what you'd go for if you want that regular, I tank all the hits and I do all the damage. You could probably read the Dungeon Master to reflavor this all into your Divine Fury. It now just does the same damage as your weapon. It's no longer from the gods, it's just sheer force of will. I think you could do that with a DM. If not, still fine. Then, once per active rage, if you fail a save, you can reroll it with a bonus equal to your rage damage bonus, and you must use the new roll, which is insane for survivability, especially against spells, which you most likely will not have proficiency in. You get to reroll, which is almost like advantage. It's just not as good, but it's also not as bad as disadvantage. It's still very good. And you get to add another number to that. That can neutralize any negatives and add a little bit more. So that is very good. Then you get Zealous Presence at level 10. As a bonus action, you unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy. Up to 10 other creatures of your choice within 60 feet of you gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn. You can only use this once per long rest, unless you expend a use of your rage. Again, the Barbarian is now a support. Oop. Forgetting I did anything. I actually pressed the space button. I don't know why they decided the Barbarian should be a support class, but I'm all here for it, as it gives it so much utility, and it still retains all of its ability to just damage and tank hits. I'm actually really loving Zealot. This is the first time that I've fully read through all of it, and it looks so fun. You also get Rage of the Gods at level 14. When you activate your range, you can assume the form of a Divine Warrior. This form lasts for 1 minute or until you drop to 0 hit points. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. While in this form, you gain the following benefits. You gain a fly speed equal to your speed and can hover. Hearing that can hover is so beautiful. Because if you don't know, with fly, if you just stay up in the air and you can't hover, you will just fall. But when you hover, you can just go up 5 feet and stay up 5 feet. It's like just a always active levitate spell, and it will come up quite a lot. And you will have 40, 45 speed, and if you dash, that's 80 or 90. So having that, again, makes the Barbarian a very powerful class. You also gain resistance to necrotic, psychic, and radiant damage, which is really nice. Very, very nice to have more resistances. That's 6 resistances with this subclass, including the base resistances. And if you just take a ring of resistance or 2, that's more. That's really great. Revivification. There we go. When a creature within 30 feet of you would drop to 0 hit points, you can take a reaction to expend a use of your rage to instead change the target's hit points to a number equal to your Barbarian level. Again, the Barbarian is a support class now. I'm so happy that they have given the Barbarian so many utility abilities, so many support abilities, because it used to just be you sit there, you attack the guy, and maybe get hit. But now you can make sure that your team stays up, because not only are you now probably the second most mobile class besides Monk, But all of your subclasses give you a utility or support along with all of your support abilities from base Barbarian. So overall, I would of course give Barbarian 10 out of 10. I will say this is a very biased take by me because of course I love Barbarian. It is my favorite class and I am so happy with what Wizards of the Coast has done with the 5.5 version, and I'm playing one right now. It is the funnest thing I've ever done, and hopefully you'll also find it fun as well. So, see ya.